Question: who looks worse in the Lakers' dysfunction? LeBron, Magic, Jeanie, or Pelinka?
Did you see that video? That guy, Rob Pelinka over there. I don't want to say you're lying, but I know Kobe got access. He is Kobe. But he got the movie 6+ months before it was released and had dinner with Heath Ledger. That's a lot, but I'm not even going to go in that lane, even though that's a lot. Let's talk about the fact that he had no experience to get the job then. So far, little to no success since he's got the job. And then on top of that, his reputation that was out there as being an agent, some may say talks out of both sides of his mouth, has now seeped internally to where that's status quo. Like his peers, his co-workers look at him kind of with the lens of take it or leave it.
His mouth is moving, he's lying. That's how they look at it.
Exactly. So Rob Pelinka, not so many things that were profound in this piece, not too many for me, but that one was interesting. Like his reputation not only precedes him, but he continues to kind of validate it.
Fair, but I'm going with this guy.
Magic Man, huh?
Largely because there's only one person who jumped ship from this organization. There's only one person who went on the national TV and then savaged everybody else in the organization. There's only one person who was in charge, allegedly, and was making all the decisions and has left the franchise as it is. And I would add this, and this is hard for me to say because growing up, Magic was my favorite player, most beloved. But among the four people that we're talking about here that are the candidates, who was the most revered and who was the most beloved?
Yeah.
So who's taken the biggest hit here when we look at the change in how we view Magic Johnson? Rob Pelinka, you said it. He's an agent. What do we know about Jeanie Buss? LeBron's already taken his slings and arrows. Magic was in this special place, and the way he's dealt with this situation has been the most disappointing to me.
He dealt with it exactly how he's dealt with every other situation outside the basketball.
And we gave him passes on all of those.
And
we
we'll
still
give him
looked
a
at
pass
him.
again.
We'll see. I feel like this one's going to leave a mark.
That's upside down.
He on that Matt Barnes. It's legal. It's legal.
Well, maybe that's how confused she is.
Jeanie Buss.
I think Jeanie takes a lot of the heat from just, I think it's really showing where she lacks. It's always been a family business. You know, her dad had a great run, one of the most historical franchises we've ever seen. She takes the reins, her brother takes the reins, and it's gone downhill since. They've been the worst franchise the last 6 years. And I think her inexperience is showing. Hiring Rob and hiring Magic, knowing they have no front office experience before. And then for Magic to tell you at the beginning of the time, I have a lot of other businesses that I'm going to be attending to. And for that, at the end of the day, to be one of the major problems of why Magic left was because he wasn't in the office enough. And to touch on what you said, Rick, I think the reason why Magic did leave is because he thought he was going to be the person making these tough decisions and final saves, but he found out that he didn't have as much juice than he thought he had.
Disagree with that.
You don't agree with that?
Oh, I agree with Matt, but let's hear it.
I'm going to tell you why I disagree with it. It takes a big pair to swing the hammer that Magic talking about he wants to be the final throw. You have to sit down with people and say, you're not good enough, and we're moving on. Magic Johnson went on TV on First Take and was like, and then, you know, they questioned me about firing Luke Walton, and Jeanie likes Luke as a man. And he created this appearance like they wouldn't let me fire Luke. And then they fired Luke 3 days later. So there was nothing standing in the way. That's all garbage from Magic. He could have fired Luke Walton if he had a big enough pay.
But he also wanted to fire Rob.
No. And trust me, he could have accomplished that as well.
That part,
that's hard to say because then that's why I go back to Jeanie. Now she has the shadow owner and Linda Ramos making calls and really liking Rob and all this kind of stuff. So to me, at the end of the day, Jeanie is supposed to be the boss of everything, and the way it's trickled down, it hasn't reflected well. And this is kind of her last. She's had plenty of shields up to then, whether it had been her brother, whether it had been Magic. Now it's Rob. Now the light is really shining on Jeanie, and I think her, she's up against the clock right now to make something happen.
I think your take is good and certainly justifiable. I can't even say I really disagree with it. Other than look, man, Magic in his position, when you fire people, particularly at that level, it takes a lot of work. You just don't, hey, I'm going to fire him. No, you have to write down and explain to people, get in front of a group. this is exactly why we're doing X, Y, and they're going to question you, and then you have to restate the case and win the room, and then boom, you get to fire him. But what Magic kept saying, no fun. I'm only here part-time. I have other things to do. He didn't want to put in the work it's necessary to swing that hammer.
That's what I struggle with. It's like, okay, you weren't allowed to make the decision, supposedly, but you weren't doing the work in order to make the necessary decisions. Like, how can you say, I couldn't run this ship, and then you're saying, well, I wasn't around to run it? I mean,
well, you can say that if you have an agreement with an owner that tells you, I understand you're going to be lapsed from here at times. So when I do come in, don't measure it by the quantity, it's the quality.
Marcellus.
And that's why I think he was caught when he was like, it's my turn to do what you employed me to do, and you won't let me, I'm out. And it's no fun. That's okay to umbrella it that way. You know why? Because if I don't have power and we taking losses and I don't have decision-making opportunities, why suffer?
And I'm taking all the heat.
And I'm taking the L.
This is your show. And they may have parameters in terms of what your responsibilities are to the show. But you want the show to be successful.
Yeah.
So screw the parameters in what I'm supposed to do or when I'm supposed to be here. I'm going to do what's necessary to make this successful. Magic did not do that. I don't care what the agreement was in terms of I'm going to have these other things. When you see the Lakers are not going in the direction that they need to go, I need to spend more time on this because I've made a commitment and I supposedly love Jeanie and I love this franchise. I'm going to do what's necessary to make this a success.
But, Rick, time is not the medicine for this. Don't you see how Frank Vogel gets the job? And, guess who your assistant coach is? Jason Kidd. You don't see how they do this tandem thing? Magic Johnson, you're here. Rob Pelinka's with you, too. And then he's like, I don't want Rob. And then they're like, well, we like Rob and Luke. So Magic's like, he sees it. They just do this collective where you're not giving people their individual lanes and power.
I'll go to the same thing, though.
I hear.
One guy stepped off.
No,
one guy quit.
I'm going to go back to, again, if you read the article, Magic comes in and makes a big speech of, if you're not doing your job, he basically threatens everybody the opening day. He's the boss, and we're setting a new tone, and they start firing people right and left. And again, if you're going to make that speech, and you're going to be the boss that drops the hammer and everybody's on notice, you have to be the person who, at least by perception, works the hardest if you want your leadership to be respected. Yes, that's the way it works in corporate America.
I've been in corporate America. Don't do me like that.
You can't be an absentee, I'm the hammer, I'm laying the law down, but I'm going to be over here doing fun stuff away from the office.
But with that said, you have someone else's
reasoning. Yeah, because I'm going to just tell you why. And I'm going to explain why.
Sounds like you won, Rick.
I'm going to tell you what. No. I'm just defending his argument. But I'm going to tell you why LeBron. It's because whoever has the most to lose is always the biggest loser when things go poorly. And to me, Magic, again, he's a quitter in things that are hard and difficult. Wow. He's my God, he quit his TV show twice.
You're right in all that, but that's not the appearance or the image of Magic.
He rushed to success.
Right?
But no, that's fine.
I ain't staying somewhere. Sorry.
Look, man, in basketball, where he's 6'9" and more talented than damn near everybody in the NBA, that was great. That was fun.
Oh, he didn't work?
No, he did. Okay. But that was great and fun. He was dominant.
Yeah.
I guarantee you this. If he was 6'1" like Isaiah Thomas, you would have never heard of him. But we'll just go from there.
Hey!
That's just a
summer show.
Right. Let me just say this about LeBron.
Okay.
Honestly, he has the most to lose in this situation. And if I can sit here, someone who's never played a drop in the NBA, if I can sit there and say, well, man, they didn't hire Magic Johnson to be the president. That's laughable. Oh, man, they didn't hire Rob Pelinka, an agent who's despised across the league as general. That's laughable. Jeanie Buss has had no success. She's not her father. LeBron, this is the perfect opportunity. I'm going to go to L.A. and play for the Lakers. That's silly.
Maybe this is a learning experience for him as well. You know, because when you think of we didn't really know the dysfunction until this year. I mean, it's been bad.
Take the wheel. I'm not.
I'm about to say,
but I'm saying,
I've been covering the Lakers for 10 years.
But I'm saying, as bad as it was really opened up this year. Like it was rumors here and there, but it was really opened up. You really got a firsthand look at this. But you know, I saw LeBron this weekend when our kids played the same tournament, and we embraced and talked for a second. I was just like, I bet you didn't think coming to LA was this much. You know, with so much more than basketball. And his eyes just got like, man, like it's a lot coming out here. When I tell people it's so much more than basketball playing in LA, You know what I mean? You go out there, there's a problem. He's doing too many movies. He's doing this. His agent's on the plane, this, and that. There's so much more than just basketball here, and it takes a special person to be able to focus, lock back in, and be able to handle his business.
Gravity.
And that's true to the brand of what Dr. Buss built, which is I wanted it to be more than just basketball. He wanted Showtime. And look, LeBron is wasting his finite years of playing basketball. That's a big L.